1992. Riga, Latvia. A retired Soviet bureaucrat walks toward a Western embassy. He is 70 years old. He carries a canvas bag. Inside the bag, one handwritten document. A sample. He says he has more. Much more. The intelligence officer who met him said he had never seen anything like it. The document described active KGB operations in detail no outside source could have known. Mitrokhin had been inside the KGB for 30 years, and for 12 of them, he had been copying everything. This is how the most comprehensive intelligence haul of the Cold War began, with one old man and a canvas bag. 1922. Yuriev Polsky, Russia. A small industrial town northeast of Moscow. Vasili Mitrokhin grew up in Soviet Russia, in the era of Stalin's absolute control. When the war began in 1941, he was 19 years old. He served as a military intelligence officer on the Eastern Front. He saw what the war did to people. He came back shaped by it. After the war, he joined the MGB, the predecessor of the KGB. He believed in the system. Completely. That was not unusual in 1948. He rose through the ranks as an intelligence officer. Disciplined. Loyal. Invisible. Postings abroad. Reports filed. Promotions earned. He was the kind of man the system produced. Careful, reliable, unnoticed. He believed that what the Soviet Union was building mattered. That the sacrifices had meaning. That belief would take a long time to die. February 25, 1956. Moscow. The 20th Congress of the Communist Party. Nikita Khrushchev gave what became known as the secret speech. He listed Stalin's crimes. The purges. The mass executions. The torture. The lies. The speech was meant to be secret. It leaked within weeks. The world read it. For Mitrokhin, it was a fracture he could not close. He had built his life around a system that had tortured and executed hundreds of thousands of its own people. But he stayed. Men like him always stayed. There was nowhere else to go. He watched the KGB operate through the 1960s. Hungary, Czechoslovakia, dissidents imprisoned. Each operation widened the fracture. He stopped believing in what he was doing. He kept doing it anyway. For years, that was the whole of it. He did his job. He said nothing. He was a careful man. A patient one. What he lacked was access. The kind of access that would make his silence worth something. In 1972, that changed. He was transferred to the KGB's Central Archive in Moscow. His job was routine. Help move 30 years of KGB files to a new building. The archive contained everything. Active operations, agent networks, assassinations, blackmail files, names of KGB officers operating undercover across Europe, America, Asia. The files described how the Soviets had penetrated the CIA, MI6, the FBI, how they had recruited scientists, politicians, journalists, how they had forged documents, planted disinformation, staged defections. The full scope of what the KGB had done for 30 years was in this room. Mitrokhin read. He understood exactly what he was looking at. He made a decision. He would copy it. Not a summary. Not excerpts. Everything he could reach. Every day, he took notes at his workstation in the archive. He kept his face neutral, his movements unhurried. He had spent a career learning not to draw attention. When he needed to write in detail, he went to the toilet. In a locked stall, he transcribed file contents onto scraps of paper. At the end of each day, he folded the notes flat and hid them inside his clothing. He walked out of the KGB building carrying state secrets against his skin. He did this for 12 years. He never told his wife. He never told anyone. Each evening he went home. Each morning he went back. At home, he rewrote his notes in full onto clean sheets of paper. He worked at his kitchen table after his wife was asleep. The notes accumulated. Hundreds of pages. Then thousands. He needed somewhere to hide them. He had a dacha, a small wooden house outside Moscow, with a garden and birch trees. He buried his notes in a tin box under the dacha floor. Later, as the volume grew, he used milk cans. Sealed. Buried deeper. He dug at night. Filled the cans carefully. Covered the ground. By the time he retired in 1984, the dacha floor hid the equivalent of a small library. Notes on KGB operations in 30 countries. Hundreds of undercover officers named. Assassinations ordered. Defectors hunted. Dissidents destroyed. The full apparatus of Soviet intelligence, recorded by hand, buried under birch trees. No one in the KGB knew. No one even looked. For 12 years, Vasili Mitrokhin had been the most dangerous man in the Soviet Union. He looked like the least dangerous man in any room. After retirement, he organized his notes at the dacha. He cross-referenced them. He added context. He indexed them by country. He was meticulous. He had been trained to be meticulous. He was also in his 60s, and the Soviet Union was still standing. He waited. The 1980s were long. The system showed no sign of collapse. Then Gorbachev, Glasnost, Perestroika. The language changed, but the walls stayed up. Mitrokhin watched and waited. He had learned patience the hard way. 1989, the Berlin Wall came down. He watched it on television at the dacha. 1991, the coup attempt against Gorbachev. 3 days of uncertainty. Then the Union itself began to dissolve, republic by republic. December 25, 1991, the Soviet flag came down over the Kremlin for the last time. Mitrokhin was 69 years old. He had been waiting for this for 35 years. In 1992, he decided it was time. He packed a sample from his notes. One document. Representative. He traveled to Riga, Latvia, now an independent country with Western embassies. He walked into the American embassy. He told them what he had. They turned him away. The Americans did not believe him, or they did not want the complication. He walked out with his document still in his hand. He went to the British embassy. A junior diplomat took his details, passed them up the chain. MI6 sent a team to meet him. He showed them the sample document. The MI6 officer read it, then read it again. He excused himself, made a phone call, came back. They asked Mitrokhin how much more he had. He told them everything. 30 years. Buried under his dacha outside Moscow. MI6 sent a specialist team to Russia. Working quietly, over multiple trips, they retrieved the buried notes from the dacha floor. 6 large suitcases, packed with handwritten paper. They extracted Mitrokhin and his family from Russia in 1992. He crossed the border with the suitcases. He was 70 years old. British intelligence called it the most valuable defection since the Cold War began. KGB residentiaries in 12 countries were immediately compromised. Agents were quietly arrested. Operations shut down across 3 continents. The damage assessment took years. Mitrokhin settled in Britain. A quiet house. A garden with a view of trees. He spent years working with historian Christopher Andrew to turn his notes into a book. The Mitrokhin Archive was published in 1999. It named names. It exposed operations. The KGB's successor called it a fabrication. The exposed agents said nothing. Several countries reopened cold cases. Some arrests followed. Italy, Germany, the United States, all found operations in the archive that matched their own records exactly. In 2002, a second volume was published. More countries, more names, more operations. Mitrokhin never went back to Russia. He could not. He died in 2004 in Britain at the age of 81. The British government released a statement thanking him for his service. The full contents of the Mitrokhin archive are still not fully declassified. Somewhere in those milk cans under a Russian dacha, there are things the world still does not know.